Hello, people. It's your boy Asma back again with another Round the Fan podcast. It has been in a minute since we've done one of these. I did actually check prior to coming onto this one. The last time that we did one, the title was something similar to what it is today: Chelsea in the mud. That was definitely the theme earlier in the season, and as you can see from the title, it seems to be a running theme throughout the entire season. As always, we've got a fantastic panel for you guys. Make sure you do slap a like. And of course, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this on repeat, get your comments in below and obviously just give your thoughts in the general chit chat. Shout out to the United Way who's in the building, as always, showing love. I appreciate you. We have got Lawless hopefully joining us at some point, and GunnerKing. But that aside, the homie is in the building. I know he's got a lot on his mind because it's been an absolute nightmare. Kish, how you doing, my brother?
Yeah, I mean, I've had better seasons as a fan, but in general, I'm good. But yeah, elephant in the room. It's not been a good season so far for the team, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's not been fantastic for you. I'm sure we'll get to that very shortly. But as you put in the WhatsApp group, Son scored, so that's a positive. Obviously, you seem very happy about that. But listen, we're not going to get into that just off the gate. Obviously, the other lads are going to be arriving at some point, so we will delve into that. So we're probably going to start with some of the smaller clubs, the mid-table clubs like Chelsea, and obviously I'll work our way up the table, that kind of thing. Just want to quickly say, obviously, as always, myself and Kish are from Sheffield. Our thoughts and prayers with those who have lost their lives in the Hillsborough disaster. Of course, the Liverpool fans, this was the anniversary, I think, within this week. So obviously, just want to pay our respects to them, as we always should. Seen some ridiculous comments from people. Listen, there's bigger things in life than football rivalry. It's not that deep. Obviously, just banter, friends, etc., etc. But obviously, pay our respects to the people that passed away in that tragedy. But listen, we're going to get into a lot. Some of the stuff that don't really particularly want to talk about, but we can't really avoid it, so we'll get to that. But that aside, before we get to that, just the homie is in the building. It's been a minute. GK GunnerKing is here, still top of the table, my brother. How you doing?
Yeah, well, been better. Obviously, yesterday's result took a bit of wind out of ourselves, along with the Liverpool one, but could be worse. Could be a Tottenham fan. Could be a Chelsea fan.
Yeah, listen. No doubt we're going to get into that. As always, make sure you slap a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. As I said, Lawless hopefully will be joining us at some point. Surprisingly, he's more likely to come now that his team's got a decent result for a change. But anyways, listen, we're going to start. We're going to start with Super Frank. Like I said, I just want to quickly skim through some of the mid-table clubs. So we'll just start with Chelsea. I believe this is their fourth manager, 630 million. Down the drain at Chelsea. Lose again. Absolutely battered. But I actually watched the whole 90 minutes. I've never seen a team get battered like that and only lose 2-1. They got annihilated. Obviously, the goal came, against the playing via Gallagher, but look, fair play to him. Mudryk also, I believe, has now got 2 assists, which is actually the most in from any Chelsea player this season. So that's a brilliant start. But Kish, we'll come to you first. Chelsea, they've been umming and ahhing this season. What have you made of Super Frank? 3 games, no wins. Do you reckon he's the man to take them forward?
Yeah, without doubt, 100%. If they stick with Frank Lampard for the rest of this season and hopefully for the next 3 seasons, I think they'll go very far. Generally speaking, I am really into the philosophy. I don't quite know what the philosophy is just yet, because I think he's just finding his way into management, of course. So it does take a bit of time. He's a legend as a player. So, I mean, if they still play those DVDs with the top bin strikes that he had back in the day, I think that will inspire some of the players, because they can't seem to score a goal unless it's a deflection or, from a penalty. So, it's good to see. But yeah, I'm 100% Lampard. And I think just give him time. He probably needs more money, to be honest. I don't think he's had the backing yet, because he's not had a transfer window. So if you give him till the summer, maybe another 500, 600 million, I think they should get into the top half next season. 100%. I think I'm confident for that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, realistically speaking, for a team of Chelsea stature, I mean, I would say top half finish, top 8 finish is pretty successful. Look, prior to Abramovich's money, that's basically what they were. A top 8 team. Sometimes a top 6 team on a good season. essentially they're kind of back to where they belong.
But
Like,
most importantly, they cannot sack Lampard because he is the legend. He's the club legend. You
I know
cannot.
they got. I've seen a lot.
Forget Nagelsmann. Forget Enrique. No. These can't even step on Lampard's shoes. He's a club legend. So give him the contract. Bowley, Todd. Listen, James Corden gave you the name. Keep it with him, brother, and just give the guy a 3-year contract because he will take you far. People like Money Mount, people like Gallagher, they will be playing every game, and believe me, there will be results. So stick with him, Bowley, and you're a fantastic owner. Honestly, I really, really appreciate all the work you've done with the 4 managers. But yeah, keep it going this season because I feel like you deserve the world.
Oh God, now they do deserve the world. But listen, no, Todd Bowley, right? He said they're gonna win against Real Madrid 3-0. 3-0, not even 1. Not even 2. Man said 3-0 with chest. Honest to God, I mean, the fact that he listened to James Corden for advice. Listen, I mean, I know I'm Glazers out and I know Liverpool fans are FSG out. You know, sometimes grass ain't always green on the other side. I mean, what is going on? That guy is absolutely clueless. But speaking of clueless, GK, I heard some English pundits say Lampard is better than Nagelsmann. Do you think it's the case that, you know, they trust the process with Lampard and not go for Nagelsmann? What do you reckon with the Chelsea thing at the moment?
I'll tell you what, get the paper out, yeah, put it in front of him, let him write what let him write whatever number he wants on that bit of paper, yeah, because Frank Lampard, he's back. Frank Lampard's on the wheel, yeah. United, Chelsea are back. Yeah, that's what I say. Yeah, I don't know if I paraphrase that quite right. Yeah, but every time they lose a game, this is all I have to say on my Twitter. I just post that up with another Rio Ferdinand picture.
Oh my God.
Together, yeah, because Frank Lampard is doing his thing. You know, me and Kish are probably not going to agree on much today, but that's one thing we can agree on. You know,
do you know what it is, right? I've never known an owner of a football club that actually spends money, that actually spends a ridiculous amount of money, like it's Football Manager, but it to still get worse, and not just worse by a bit, but like worse off than when they couldn't even fill out their stadium because they had a stadium ban.
Oh.
Like, it's crazy. Like it's ridiculous. Like I can't believe it.
I'll tell you what, right? It couldn't happen to a nicer fan base either. I can't stand them. Like, the thing is, like, obviously our natural enemy is Tottenham, then probably Man United before them. But I just loathe them. Like the thing is,
they're so like shameless. Like I've noticed,
shameless.
Right? Chelsea fans. You know how many Chelsea fans I've had DM me since that Sevilla game? I've got Arsenal fans, Spurs fans, blah blah blah. But Chelsea fans are the ones that are DMing me the most, like giving me shit, like X, Y, and Z. Like you're 11th. You're 11th. 630 million spend. That is without how much they spent on Havertz and Lukaku and Werner. That's not even included them. That was within the last 3 years. They've spent essentially 900 million pretty much to be sat in 11th and to gone through 4th. You know how mad that is. I mean,
I was on the Twitter space after our game yesterday with Hamza. Yeah, with a bunch of Man City fans because you know me, I'll face the music, whatever come what may. There was a couple of Man United fans. Interestingly enough, there was no Tottenham fans because I think even Tottenham fans are just like, you know what, we're in no state really to talk to anyone. Like, but there was Chelsea fans, and they're in a worse state than Tottenham, and they were all there, like they were they were the ones picking up the tools and trying to cook, and the City fans were just stood back, just watching us, and it's just like, hang on a minute, like what, like. Where is your self-awareness? They're talking about, oh, you better not lose to Southampton, as if you didn't lose to them home and away this season. Like, what is this? Like, and the thing is, truth be told, you know, we all heard that, you know, 600 million when they started spending money at the beginning of the season. Loads of my mates that are Chelsea fans were like, "Oh, we're back to ruining football." You all know what happens when we start ruining football. We cheated FFP. Do you know what I mean? We found the cheat code and we exploited it. You know, now they're fixing this new loophole situation that we've created from extending these contracts. They really thought they did something. you know. And when they went for Mudryk and Felix, that was a PR stunt because Bowley had messed up so badly. It was like, how do we pull the wool over their eyes of the fans that are disgruntled? I know. We'll hijack some Arsenal transfers, you know, so everyone will suddenly forget. Oh, look at this! We've hijacked Felix, we've hijacked Mudryk, and Trossard has got 1 goal and 7 assists, and Mudryk's barely got 2.
He's only got 2 assists, and that the second one being the Gallagher goal, which I mentioned. But listen, I actually mentioned the Chelsea game to actually talk about Brighton. To be fair, obviously Brighton are a team on the up, but Chelsea are quite clearly shocking. The reason I mentioned Brighton is for 2 reasons. I know Kish wants De Zerbi, and the second reason, I've got a feeling Kish is going to say Brighton are in the top 4. So I'm going to allow you to say your piece on Brighton. But honestly, like, they seem to find gems, firstly, but secondly, Kish, like, how impressive have been with Brighton so far? I mean, they go from strength to strength, and as I said, they've battered Chelsea. Not that that's an achievement these days because they're washed, but I think Stamford Bridge as well.
I think the most important thing with Brighton that's you know it's pleasantly surprised is the fact that Potter, with the way that they played. The way that they played football was fantastic. It has been for the last 3-4 seasons post Chris Hughton, right? So that's always been great, but it's always been the final product that's let them down. Mm-hmm. And even at the beginning of the season, when they were getting accolades, they were still not productive in front of goal, and that was whilst Potter was there. So Potter did 3/4 of the job, but the final 25%, I just feel like De Zerbi is obviously doing something in training, because even the likes of Danny Welbeck, who's a veteran now of the game, right? Even he's been productive in terms of the output, not just his hold-up play and things like that are still useful within the top league, right? But in terms of actually scoring goals, assisting, having that kind of GA contribution, he's now bringing this into plays like a Welbeck, who you'd probably say is in the twilight of his career and has never been prolific. Players like Evan Ferguson, who's part of the youth setup there, and another gem that they brought into place, and Ciso, who's now scored 2 in 3. Mitoma, I mean, the list goes on. Even players like the British guy who was touted to be in the last England squad but didn't get picked. I can't remember. He plays on the wing. What's his name? The
British guy.
Yeah, Solly March.
Solly March. Yeah, Solly March. Who again, I never thought much of over the years because he was always an impact player. Even players like him, he's improving not just on the quality of their individual play, but actual goal contributions, which is what this game is about realistically when you're an attacking player, right? So he's showing all of these improvements within training, because a lot of those players are the same players that were there years beforehand, but now you're seeing that input. And for me, as a neutral on the Brighton side of things, I would enjoy nothing more but for them to get into the top 4. I really would. Yeah, I think they would be fantastic. I think the brand of football that they would play isn't just for the Premier League, but I think in European football, whether it be the Champions League or the Europa League, is also a good way of playing. And I can see De Zerbi going far. Now, with regards to Tottenham, I know that's another story altogether, but I think De Zerbi, my thoughts have kind of changed slightly on it, just because the way I see it is, you can be very hasty with the style of football that a manager plays. If you don't have the right tools, then it's very difficult to play that. If you look at Potter at Chelsea, the Chelsea team was known under Tuchel to play a more of a kind of high back line, ultra defensive, pragmatic football, but with a counter-attacking element to it. And when you bring someone like a Potter's philosophy, which is full on, it's face front, it's possession football, which the Chelsea players weren't used to because that's not something that they've had as a philosophy. If De Zerbi does decide to move, I think he needs more of a project that would have a similar kind of setup already there rather than something that's the complete opposite. So I think with regards to that, I don't think it'd be a good fit. But I think in terms of what he's doing at Brighton, it's phenomenal. You can't deny that. He's doing a phenomenal job on the pitch and also off the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, spot on with obviously the last segment of what you obviously alluded to, the system changes. But yeah, for me, Brighton, their recruitment is absolutely outrageous. I mean, the fact that they get that many gems consistently, I forgot, I don't have to pronounce his name, the fullback as well, starting with the E.
Oh, Unipist or yeah. I know
I think that's He's been absolutely
Estepunen. Estepunen, yeah, the left back.
I'm not going to
yeah.
butcher the brother's name if he's one of the 4 viewers. But no, he's been absolute quality as well. I mean, they've had so many revelations within that team. But look, for me personally, it would be nice to see another team, get into the top 4 that isn't really a traditional team, so to speak. Like for me, like teams like Newcastle, that they don't really deserve it. Obviously, just an oil club, just plastic, just. Listen, honestly, God, I tweeted something about Newcastle for the first time. I got so much hate. Oh my God. Like I had 15 replies within like 5 minutes, like 10 minutes, all abusing me. But it is what it is, Newcastle fans. Don't kill me, it is what it is. But anyways, look, regarding Brighton, breath of fresh air, play fantastic football. Nothing but massive credit to them. Matoma has come on leaps and bounds this season. I mean, for me personally, I only realistically remember seeing him earlier in the season when he had to rinse Trent. That was the first time I really paid notice to the guy. I think it was at September time or something. But since then, he's been absolutely sensational, as is McAllister as well. Another player linked a lot of the top teams. I mean, he's been
as well.
Composure. Again, another game I actually watched the full night. Well, it was the same game, but I watched the full 90 minutes. I was watching McAllister carefully, and to be fair to the guy, he actually is a baller. I didn't think it was hype. He does look like he's got technical nous about him. But I'm going to pass it to you, GK, just very quickly regarding Brighton. Do you think they got a realistic chance of maybe getting top 4, top 6? Where do you sit with them coming into the end of the season?
Absolutely. I mean, me and a couple of my mates were talking about this earlier. Some of the other TikTok creators, and I think them and Newcastle are the best coached teams out of the traditional Big 6 clubs outside of them at the moment. I think it's between those two. And there's not much between it. But I think in the attacking sense, Brighton are far more developed, like going forward. Mitoma, interestingly enough, he did a thesis at university. He did sport science on dribbling past people. He put like a GoPro headset on his head, and he would be kind of video documenting, and then sort of logging, like sort of documenting in writing afterwards, like all of these techniques that he would use when he was dribbling. So watching him, he's obviously we got Trossard, but he was the guy after we didn't get Mudryk that I was saying go get him. He's quality, and I think with De Zerbi, I think he's come in, and I think I agree with Kish. He's kind of taken Brighton's attacking threat and output up to a whole new level. And look, listen, I'll be clear, we got to play them at home. We played them away, and luckily when we played them away, I think we beat them 4-2, but McAllister had just won the World Cup. Caicedo had his head unsettled because we tried to actually bid for him as well. So neither of these two played. A complete false sense of security. We subbed off Partey, and the moment we took Partey off, they were ripping us. Like they were ripping us a new one. 4-2 was a completely flattering scoreline. And listen, we got to play them at home. And I speak to a lot of Man City fans, obviously Dap, Steve, all these guys, a lot of my TikTok followers that are City fans. And some of them have even said, we're as fearful about playing Brighton as maybe playing you at home, and it's one of their fixtures that they pictured that could be a banana skin. And Arsenal fans are exactly the same. We're under no illusion, even though we're playing them at home, and City have less of a benefit.
I think City, if I'm honest, I think with City, the way they play in terms of the high line, I think I could see Matoma rinsing them. I would not be surprised in the slightest if he just beat.
Just one of those. It is one of those fixtures for both teams that could be an absolute banana skin. I mean, even when they played Tottenham, I think, they put Tottenham to the sword as well. I think it could be argued some of the decisions didn't go their way. Well, Pogba have come out and said that as well. So, look, Brighton, they are a team to watch. And I think if they don't get Champions League football, we'll certainly see them in Europa League next season, for sure.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it'd be a shame if they didn't get at least one of the competitions. I feel like I don't think they'll get Champions League, just to throw that out there. But it'd be a real shame if they don't at least get Conference or Europa League. Whether their fans want it or not, I know one of my mates, what does he spell again? I can't remember which team it was. Oh, Fulham, that's what it was. They've fallen off now, obviously, since. But at the time when they were in contention for European spot, he didn't want it. because he felt like their squad wasn't ready. And I feel like Brighton may fall in that category slightly. They're not really a team that necessarily pump a lot of money in, as we've already alluded to. They're very much a team that does things properly. I wonder if it's the Moneyball system that they use, but we'll have to wait and see. But look, just quickly, I have seen this comment here as well. United have got them in the cup. I've got to be honest, I've got us to lose that game, to be honest, in the cup against Brighton. I just think for me, without defence, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long
I forgot
day.
about that as well. Yeah, you got them in the FA Cup.
Yeah,
And
we
the
got them in the
semi-final.
semi-final. So that's going to be a long day. Maguire, Matoma running at Maguire for 90 minutes, potentially 120 minutes. God knows what the score's going to be there. And without an ability to score as well, it's not really the best of things. So, yeah, just to skirt past that, would mention Newcastle and Villa, but to be honest, we're probably not going to have much time. I just want to get into the bigger stories. With all due respect, Cameron, I know you're a Newcastle fan and you're going to kill me, but just throwing it out there. Listen, Newcastle, I still think you'll get top 4, but it is what it is. Anyways, Kish, let's get into it. Get it off your chest. Kish, what happened? I mean, oh my God, absolutely unbelievable scenes. No, I gotta be honest, I don't even remember the score. I watched the whole game. I know the score, but I don't remember who scored first and what order, that kind of thing. I feel like you were leading, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like Son scored first, but I'm sure you'll be able to tell me. But anyways, Kish, chat to me about Tottenham.
Yeah, I mean, look,
I thought you're gonna win it.
Look, at the end of the day, the one thing I will say is, look, you can boo players like Sanchez and and Lenglet and players around that, right? But I think you're booing at the wrong person. Look, at the end of the day, it's not Sanchez's fault that he came on. It's the manager that plays him, the caretaker manager. These players that have previously been there, like Eric Dyer, who silently is getting a new 3-year contract.
He's getting a new contract.
Yep. And the reason why they've not brought it into light is because they know the fan hatred towards it. So again, that just proves to another direction that it's a homegrown player, someone that's a utility player. And that's the issue with Spurs. And that's always been the issue. For the last 5 years, we've had dead wood of players that have been there and for whatever reason have not gone. Now, for Davinson Sanchez in particular, in January, he had offers. I know for a fact he had offers. And one of the clubs that actually wanted him was PSV. PSV Eindhoven wanted him. And Roma also wanted him. I don't know why, but Roma wanted him.
Josie wanted him.
Yeah, he himself rejected the move because he wanted to fight for his place. Now, any big club or any club that has any kind of indication to show that would have just said, look, no, you're not staying here. You have a choice of either PSV or Roma. But that's not Tottenham. And that's always been the case for Tottenham, where we act like a big club. We have the stadium. We have the facilities. We have a fucking racing car track that's going to be there for 20 years. Happy times. But when it comes to actual big boy thinking and when it comes to the thought process, it's not there. Now, a lot of people will say, look, you spent the money, you spent 150 million, you spent this, you spent that over the last 2 years. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that we've spent money. But if you actually look at the way these contracts work and you look at the way things are happening, Porro's a loan signing. Romero was a loan signing from last season. Kulusevski's still a loan signing. And these other players are basically, we've used the Chelsea model. So we're basically paying 5-10 million a season over 5 years for some of these players. So in hindsight, you might think, oh yeah, but Lewis gave you 150 million pounds pop. That wasn't the case. I also know for a fact that other than the likes of Perisic and also Richarlison, who wasn't the first choice, he was the second choice, these weren't the main choices of the managers, past and present. These weren't the choices. They were given just as an option to say, look, take it or leave it. It was the exact same as Danjuma. Danjuma wasn't wanted, but he was given because Paratici, who's now in prison, fantastic.
I mean, Paratici aside, we can't really.
But these are players. Go on.
Kish, just quickly, sorry to interrupt you. Why the hell is Danjuma not playing?
Because he was never wanted.
Yeah, but he scores every time he plays.
Yeah, I know, but my point is he was never wanted. It was just the case that we were given a bargain offer because he was going to go to Everton anyways. He's got Champions League experience. The manager was probably us saying, could you take him? Yeah, why not? With no intention to play him, maybe just a couple of minutes here and there. And that, again, just shows the whole picture of Tottenham Hotspur. And I think the issue now is he's tried the last few years with kind of having a cheat code where he's thought, right, what would I rather do? Hire a manager of elite mentality for 15 million a season or spend 200-300 million over a period of time to reinvest in the team and build that. What he's done is he's put the band-aid, which is the 15, 20 million a season for a top-class manager. But the issue now is the squad is way past that, because when Mourinho first joined, he was shocked by the depth and the quality of the squad. When the reason why Conte first rejected the job was because he saw the team, he saw the squad. So I don't know what changed into him signing the contract in the first place, other than maybe he was given these promises. But the main overriding issue is that we've not been a big club for the best part of 30 years, because Birmingham have won the same amount of trophies as us in the last 20 years. Swansea have. Leicester have won more than us. Leicester are a bigger club than us, in my opinion, in recent time. No one can argue that. That's a blatantly obvious kind of conundrum on that. And I just think we are just there for performance. That's it. In terms of consistency of results that get us as high in the league as possible, with no intention to get that last 25%. The ownership model has already said that on many statements this season, that our job is to compete, not to win trophies, but to compete. And competing for Tottenham Hotspur and their owners is third or fourth spot. Not any intention to win anything of any magnitude. And final point, I know I've been ranting, but what the fuck is Stellini still doing there? I mean, you sack the manager, but you keep his assistant who has the same tactics. What? I would rather have Ryan Mason than Stellini. What are you? At least Ryan Mason is part of the club setup, right? It's like, I'm sure GK can argue, right? Lundberg had a terrible stint at Arsenal as manager, but would you rather have him or say Emery's fucking BTEC assistant? You'd rather have a Lundberg, because Lundberg at least knows the club and he knows what the club is about. So why the hell can we not actually run as a big club, not act like it? Even with the Paratici thing, he's got the allegations. He's been put on like basically a lockdown, but we're still waiting for the results of that case until we sack him. How can someone please? And then the owners then out of their mind say in a statement, they don't understand what they're doing wrong. The owners themselves don't feel like that they've done anything wrong.
They're not doing anything wrong.
How can you? It's like me having my girl, right? And her openly seeing me cheat, and me saying, "No, it wasn't me. It was my brother." But you don't have a brother. No. It wasn't me. I do have a brother. It definitely wasn't me. Are you fucking out of your mind?
Levy gave himself a £500,000 a year pay rise, the biggest of any of the chairmen in all of the
He's given himself a pay rise. He's given it, and our season tickets. They're the most expensive season.
Worth every penny, man. Every penny is
we're not competing for the major honours, and I think that's what the fans need. And I think, look, just cut your losses and get Pochettino, and just realise that you messed up when you had something good and you let it go. I understand the last season under Pochettino, he lost motivation, things happen, but surely it can't be as worse as what it is right now.
Nah. Listen, first things first, right? I'm just gonna throw this out here, and I'm sure GK is probably gonna be able to say a similar thing. But the amount of Spurs fans I've argued with time and time, and all I was hearing was, "Well, we're still fourth, we're still third, we're still this, we're still that." The cracks were so big, and your fans were not you, Kish, but in general, the issue with a lot of fan bases is they're just blinded to the oblivious issues. And for me personally, Conte was working miracles with that team. I've got to be honest. The fact that he was scraping by and actually had you in a situation where you might actually get top four was absolutely ridiculous. You spent about 180 million. Granted, I actually thought you did good business in the summer, but boy, was I wrong. It was absolutely shocking business. Not one of those players has probably got higher than a 4 or 5 out of 10. They've been absolutely pathetic. And Richarlison, of all of them, this man was giving lip. This man recently. Oh, God. Shout out to Lawless in the building as well. Just quickly get my man in. Jeez, he's here. Lawless, right time to chat shit. So you're going to love this.
Love of life, bro.
Listen, firstly, Lawless, shout out to you, bro. Great appearance on it. Troops, the channel. I watched the whole thing. I was loving it. My guy, repping the Casemiro on that. You love to see it. But how are you doing, my guy? You good?
Yeah, good, man. Good. It's been a hectic fucking few days, man, whirlwind. I've been on like 5 different channels leading up to this
Mate,
game.
you're the guy. You're the best damn guy. I seen you on the girls. I seen you on this. I was like, yo, Lawless, do this thing, man. I'm watching all
Oh
of it.
man, it was funny. Like now, because us fans were so confident, it's like this time there's like they all wanted me to go on their channel to come on because we're down in the dumps, they're flying high. So yeah, I had flipping Troops, Turkish, DR Sports, like you said, Igal, lead judges. They was all there like sharks swimming round. They was like, come on our channel and tell us how we're gonna slap you guys and get our goal difference up.
Oh, you love to see it. You love to see it. But listen, getting back onto Richarlison, obviously we'll come to the Arsenal game very shortly. But yeah, Richarlison for me, if you're gonna give that much verbal and come out and speak with chest about, oh, you know, Conte's not doing this, you best deliver, bro. You best deliver. The games after, you best deliver. The guy's been pathetic. He's been absolutely shocking. I'm sorry, I'm not giving him any excuses. 0 goals. Weghorst has got more goals than him. Weghorst, you know how bad Weghorst is? That guy's got more goals than Richarlison. I'm not hearing any excuses. Yes, Richarlison's got a couple of Champions League goals. Good for him. Happy days. Happy for the guy. But honestly, he's been pathetic, and he's not the only one. The entire team, apart from Højbjerg for me, and Kane, has been shit. I think Bentancur, to be fair to him, was actually doing quite well, and quite clearly he's extremely integral. So I'm not going to say
earlier on last season was decent, but
and he showed at the World Cup as well that he's a good player. So I'm not going to discredit him as well, but he's just not been fit enough. But then, apart from them three, every other player's been embarrassing. Really, you've had good periods here and there. I can't know what Conte's reaction right after that game. After that, who did you fumble it when you fumbled the lead against?
Southampton.
That's the one. And Conte just he was perplexed. He was thinking, bro, I've been at Inter, I've been at Juve, I've been at Chelsea, I've been here. I've never seen this shitness. I've just never seen players do this. Just under no pressure. Just
do you know what the worst thing about that is, Usman? I've in recent weeks I've shared certain things with you because I'm in quite a few Spurs chats on Twitter, and I've shared it with you. And they're all slating him. And look, don't get me wrong, there's things in terms of conduct that you can't do as a manager. But you tell me, in terms of what he said, what there is actually incorrect. None of it is incorrect. And that's the hard truth. Spurs fans in the last few years are used to mediocrity. Like I said you the thing about Eric Dyer. Some of the fans still believe that Eric Dyer is a useful player to have on the bench. That is the issue with the Spurs fan base. I'm not one of them. I believe in my team that if I want to see my team improve, that these changes have to be made. And certain players that people have loyalty for because he's British and he's been at the club for X, Y, Z years. I don't give a flying fuck about that. I don't give a fuck about that, right? I don't care. Bin the lot.
The armband, Kish?
Huh?
Would you give Dyer the armband?
Piss off, mate. People were telling me at the beginning of the season that Ben Davies is the Welsh Maldini. Honestly, slap yourselves. Have a word and slap your fucking selves, right? That is, honestly, it made me so angry. And I got so much hate. I actually got racist abuse on my Twitter because I was telling them to shove it right up their arse when they were coming out with disgusting comments. If anything, that's racist to Maldini. That is actually racism to Maldini, the poor guy. Like, honestly, I bet you if I sent him that, I know he's like got a shit ton of followers. He probably would have seen it and pissed himself, right? He probably would have had to go on Google to find out who the fuck this Ben Davies is. This is the problem. It's mediocrity that Spurs fans, for some reason, seem to enjoy. And I don't get it. Everything he said was the truth. End of. It was the truth.
I mean, Conte was fine. Listen, GK, you waited very patiently. Listen, one thing I know about you, GK, you stick it into these Spurs fans every single day. Man reminds them that London is red every day. So, bro, say your piece, man. What are your thoughts on Tottenham, apart from shit, of course? You know, what have you made of them of late and just in general?
To be honest, they're already dead, innit? I could just sit here and absolutely rip into Kish and Tottenham, but I mean, what is there to say that one, even Kish and you haven't already said? Two, to be honest, the thing, you know what it is about Tottenham fans, right? I mean, you guys remember it's been a minute since I've been on here, beginning of the season. Do you know what I mean? Like, The buzz was there. They got top 4. We didn't. I'll be honest. It's the best thing that happened to us that we didn't get top 4 last season, and it's been the worst thing that's happened to the Tottenham Hotspur because let me tell you, like a few years ago, we won the FA Cup, and it led us to believe that there were a hell of a lot less problems at our club than we actually realised. A few seasons ago, Man United finished second. It was the same thing. The season after, you finished 6th. Yeah, like sometimes, like something can happen, and it can make you think that there aren't as many issues at your club that they really are when they really were. Like the fundamental problem, and I've said this, and I'm going to say it 1,000 times. Under Pochettino, that is the most feared Spurs ever were to our fan base. They played fantastic football. I hate saying it, but if it's true, I will say it. Yeah, and they attacked teams without fear, with verve when they were going forward. Harry Kane was getting service. He wasn't being the service provider. What is this? Like the last couple of managers are making Kane drop deep, come outside the box, do all this, and like Spurs fans wax lyrical about it. The ability he has to do this. If this guy's a killer in the box, why would you want him doing anything else? That's like one of the hardest things you can coach someone to do. Put the ball in the back of the net. Yeah, so he was getting service. He had the likes of Ericsson. He had the likes of Ali. He had these guys putting it on a plate for him. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the thing is, what they've done is they developed their team. Yeah, and I'm sure anyone could agree that even Son's having a bad season. There was one point in his career where he was performing to a world-class level, undoubtedly, in a Spurs shirt. Last season, he got the Golden Boot. Season before, I think those 2 seasons, he was lethal in front of goal. The ball would get, he would be in a one-on-one situation, and before he's even shot, you know he'd score. Harry Kane, top class striker. So why are you bringing in defensive managers? It doesn't make any sense. You're bringing in managers like Jose Mourinho and Conte, and yes, on paper they're good managers. Yes, they are serial winners, and that's all I heard from Tottenham fans. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we've got a serial winner, but there's no thinking of ethos, of philosophy, of culture, of like looking at what they had done at their previous clubs. Jose broke the dressing room of Man United. The moment the Chinese investors pulled out from Inter Milan, Conte left. Conte broke the dressing room at Chelsea. Like these are good managers, but they're also prima donnas. They don't get what they want, they'll throw their toys out the pram. If players aren't pulling in the right direction, they won't take them in the dressing room and talk to them quietly in the corner with an arm around their shoulder. They'll go to the media and they'll throw them under the bus, and then you're ruining the morale of your whole team, right? But the fundamental thing about their management style is they build out from the back. They build out from defense. Do you know what I mean? And that has come at the detriment of their attacking players. You know, like it doesn't surprise me that Richarlison hasn't scored a Premier League goal. But imagine him playing for Arsenal. He probably would have bagged a couple of goals by now. Do you know what I mean? Like you look at Son. Imagine him in our system. You know what I mean? These players aren't bad players. You know, like I'm not going to sit here and say they're shit players because Son is not a shit player. Son hasn't suddenly forgotten how to be a goal scorer. Those tactics, no one's going to score goals in that kind of system. And this is the thing: Spurs need to be a bit more altruistic about how they consider who they appoint as a manager. Because all they do is they look at the CV of a manager. He's won a trophy. He'll do. Like they need to actually understand these are the players that we got. Is the manager going to suit? Is he going to complement? Is he going to get the best out of the players that we got? And if the answer is no, it shouldn't matter how many trophies he's won. Arteta hadn't done anything. I don't mean to keep making this about Arsenal, but he had no managerial experience whatsoever. Yeah. But what is clear, what we're seeing now, and yeah, we might not win the league, but what is clear is he's significantly improved us with no credentials prior to coming to Arsenal. And the reason he's done that is because his ideas, his philosophy, his way of thinking, the style of football that he wants to play is conducive to the players that we had. And he was bringing in players that aligned with that ethos. He wasn't getting forced to buy players. He got given more control over because he came in as a coach, and then he got promoted to a managerial role where he had more say in the transfers, and it was more collaborative, and he was more involved in the transfer process. And unfortunately, these are all things that Spurs fans won't want to hear, but they need to observe and learn from. And that's not me blowing our trumpet. It's just objectively obvious. Do you know what I mean? That we don't have a world-class player. If you ask me, objectively, you could say Partey might be close. You could say Odegaard might be close. You could say Saka might be close. Saying Son and Kane, based on their performances of the previous 3 to 4 seasons, undeniably are world-class players. And Conte, based on his performances at previous clubs, undeniably was a world-class manager, as was Jose. But it doesn't matter, because if you've got world-class managers and world-class coaches and they don't align with like the way that the players want to play and the manager wants the teams to play, it's like pissing in the wind. And this is what they need to understand. And the thing is, I mean, Kish seems to have changed his tune a lot, so I'm not even going to just come on here and just rinse him. But the Spurs fans need to realise, right, is this whole finishing above Arsenal thing, you know, like parading it in our faces. Like, the fundamental thing is, like, saying to Man United fans, oh, you haven't won a trophy in 6 years. We always knew Man United were going to win a trophy again before you. And we always knew that Arsenal were going to get better before you won a trophy. And we might not win the league this season. But if you lot had to bet on who was going to win a trophy again next, who was going to win a league next, who's got a credible chance of winning the Champions League, tell me you would bet on Tottenham for any fucking reason. And you need to understand this. Yeah, this whole finishing above Arsenal thing, we get it. You're our rivals. Yeah, like, enjoy it. But the way you lot indulged on it and was like, you know, North London's white now. Like, there's been this power shift. Bro, Alex Ferguson didn't come to knock Liverpool off their perch and say he had done it, yeah, just because he finished above Liverpool a few times. That man put trophies in their cabinet, yeah? And he said to Liverpool, your era is done, yeah, because we win titles, yeah? We win Champions Leagues, we win things, yeah? Don't talk to me, yeah, about power shifts until you understand that, yeah? Period. That you can finish above us again. I don't want to hear it, yeah, until you want some goddamn silverware, yeah, then talk to me about power shifts. We might have slept for 2 decades. It might have been since 2004 since we won the league, and we might not win the league for another 5 or 10 years. So help me God, until you win another trophy, yeah, don't ever talk to me about power shift, ever again, like, because it's just embarrassing, isn't it? And we could, like, we might have bottled it against West Ham the other day. And I've got the cheek of these Tottenham and Chelsea fans to be talking about we will be here when Arsenal bottle the league, no matter what. Look at the state of use. Look at the state of the pair reviews. Yeah? The state of the pair reviews. Look how many world-class players Chelsea have got. How many players they've got that have won Champions Leagues in the recent years, that have won all these trophies with them.
The thing
And
is,
they've got the temerity to be sitting there talking about waiting for Arsenal to bottle the league when they're an absolute shower of shit right now. Take a good, long, hard look in your mirror. Yeah, have a word with yourself, man.
Listen to me.
It's embarrassing.
No, listen to me.
Embarrassing.
Are you going to
And that's
listen
all I'm
to
going
me?
to say on the matter.
Listen to me. Banter aside, fair enough. I understand what you say about Spurs. I'm not in terms of the majority that have said that, because I understand. I get it.
Yeah, because you won that.
I would say that about Chelsea, because if I'm honest about Chelsea, they are a more successful club than you, because you base it on recent times. So you base it on the recent 20, 30 years in terms of trophies. You've never won a Champions League. We never have. They have.
Right? And
in terms of the money, you will never financially be able to compete the way Chelsea are. So yes, Todd Bowley is struggling right now.
Get behind Chelsea
but GK, you know as well as I do, GK, that Chelsea won't be the way they are for too long, because eventually he will sign a manager of high level of experience and magnitude. And yes, a manager with a CV. No, let me speak, because you spoke for 20 minutes straight. A manager with a high level CV, right, who's won trophies, might not work at Tottenham, But at Chelsea, if you look at the last 30 years, it will work. So eventually they'll come back on their porch.
But the thing is,
because that's just how it is.
if I may retort though, yeah, Arsenal, yeah, have always, like, before Chelsea even existed, yeah, we were the kings of London, right? And what I've said, none of the things I'm not going to get into it too much. Let me just say one more thing, if I may, right? Let me just say one more thing, if I may, yeah. What you just said about Chelsea, I've always maintained about Arsenal, that we weren't going to be shit forever. We weren't going to be. Eventually, yeah, clubs like Arsenal, clubs like Man United, and clubs like Liverpool, they sort themselves out. Liverpool, you know, like this table, like Arsenal might not have a Champions League, but in terms of the historical big clubs of England, yeah, it's those three. Yeah, like whatever you want to say, yeah, Chelsea might have been more successful in recent years, and I've always maintained that one day we would come back, and lo and behold,
10 minutes.
we have.
10 minutes. I'm not interested. We've gone fair off topic.
That's what I'm saying.
Arsenal
we've done what I said we would.
Listen, don't worry. We know Arsenal.
And when Chelsea come back this time, we'll be waiting for them with something.
Listen,
don't worry about that.
We know Arsenal bigger than Spurs, man. That's not in the combo. Right, okay, we've literally done that for 10 minutes now. Let's get into... I don't even think Lawless has said a word apart from the start bit, to be fair. So I was going to ask you about Spurs, Lawless, but I'm not going to now because I don't think we've got much time. So let's get straight into the West Ham Arsenal game. Obviously, I know you are absolutely elated. I'm just going to let you speak because you've been waiting patiently. Just give us your thoughts. How are you feeling? 2-2. Moyes in. Let's go.
Not quite Moyes in, but look, it's been a horrible season. It's been really, really shit, to be honest. And like I said, I've done all these previews. Was not looking forward to this game, was dreading it, fearing the worst. Getting to the ground now, barely have time to, get adjusted. And, we're 1-0 down. And I'm like, shit, we didn't want to do that. We want to try and hold on as long as possible. See if we get the first goal, then, hold out for a draw. And then the second goal goes in. I sat down and I did this. I was just like that. I was like, no. I was like, here we go. 3, 4, 5. How many is it going to be? I was just like, it just felt like the players just had given up before the first whistle. But I don't know what it was about Arsenal that they thought, cool, 2 goals. Let's see this out. Let's try and time waste. Let's slow this game down as much as possible and just hold. Like, we're 15th. We're 15th. Newcastle beat us 5-1 last week. Like, what are you doing? They're literally, Ramsdale is just taking all the time in the world to get the ball and put it on the spot and have a look around and kick the ball out. Jesus is falling down, staying there, rolling, holding himself. Then when it's time, getting up and sprinting. It's like, I was baffled. I was like, this team's top of the league and they're wasting time against us. And it was just, once we see that, it gave us, I think, a little bit of it got the fans up for sure. They got the bit of the fans, that stuff, that sort of stuff. When you're getting that sort of, like I said, going down, taking your time, it gets the stadium up. Like we went from being deflated to being angry, and it got the players up. And yeah, we get the penalty, man, and it was a penalty. I'm not hearing no bullshit.
I was gonna ask everyone what their thoughts were on the penalty, but obviously on that list.
He's clipped the back of his foot with his knee. In what world is that not a penalty?
It wasn't so much the contact.
It wasn't so much the tackle. It was the Declan Rice, like in the build-up, with like it definitely come off his hand, didn't it? Like,
I think if Declan Rice had scored himself, VAR could have went back, looked at it. Potentially chalked it. The way how Rice, obviously, Partey's kicked it up and it's bounced up into Rice's hand, right? But so we can debate that, isn't it a handball? But the problem is Rice has laid it off to Paqueta.
Well, it's just happened with Trent. It's just happened with Trent in this Leeds game. Exact same situation.
Yeah.
So the rules, yeah, sadly.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think if Rice goes and scores the goal, it potentially gets ruled out. But because he's laid it off to Paqueta, that's why it's not been ruled out. But Gabriel flying in like a headless chicken, like we've seen him do many times this season, and Ben Rama, he showed a certain someone how you take a penalty. That guy, ice in his veins. He does not miss these penalties. Oh man. And at that point, I just thought, you know, we got a goal. At least we got a goal. They ain't getting out of with no clean sheet. So we have our goal. Let's you know, be happy with that. And then like we just from there, it just spurred us on. We kept fighting and battled. Like that was the best performance I've seen, and that's what made it so good. It weren't like, oh, we got a draw. People like celebrating a draw. We've seen even games we've won. I haven't felt good like that because we've won and we've played shit. Our players fought like nothing else, and ultimately we could have won that game. We had the chances to win the game.
I don't know how Anthony, man. I'm telling you.
If I'm being honest, you deserve to win it.
Yeah, I think that's
no
it. The turning point as well was was your pen as well, because Saka buries that, it kills us. I think it breaks our spirit.
That's game over if you bury.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't believe it. Like genuinely one of the worst penalties I've ever seen. Like, because I mean, we see the Salah one, right, against Arsenal, and you see what he's trying to do, and it just skims wide. It's still a crap penalty, but you can see he was trying to slot in the corner, like, honestly. And it was so funny. I sent you the clip of the AFTV watch along where they're like, everyone, and even on Troops' thing, they're like, yeah!
It didn't look like it was in, to be fair. I thought it was in as well.
When you see it from...
Oh, you were lying, obviously, yeah.
It was so wide. And yeah, Saka was just off the boil, man, completely. And it, you know, in my preview with Turkish, I was like, I thought he's going to have a field day because defensively on our left side, we're so weak there. And then we had Aguerd out, who's our left-sided centre-back, who's been, you know, overall, you know, a top quality player. He had a bad game against Newcastle, but overall he's been brilliant. So we had Kura there, who's been moved from right back to centre-back, right back, centre-back, back three, back four, all over the place. So we had a mate, you know, and Emerson's been playing, but Creswell was playing this time. So it's been a bit all over the place in our back line. And he was just Partey. Like they're like two of their best players. I don't know whether it's as much as they just didn't turn up or maybe a bit of both that we managed them well, but yeah, like poor. And in Arteta's substitutions, like we were screaming at Moyes, make a sub, and Arteta was just making all the subs. He was just like, shit, right, Vieira, you're on, you know, here's and Ketia, we'll send you on later. Like he was just, I don't know what he was doing. And I was looking at these subs. I was just like, he was honestly now 2 on. Now you come on, and some of the players he was taking.
He was just panicking at the end of the day, you know.
It's like he shit himself because he probably weren't expecting that. He was like, "What? This weren't the game plan." Like I said, all the Arsenal fans in the previews I was talking about was the game wasn't about a question of if West Ham could get anything. It was how many can we score, goal difference. We have to get our goal difference up to catch Man City. They didn't even imagine that this could happen, and it did, you know. And Antonio had a chance to score a winner, and he hits the post.
He should have scored that, man. He had so much time to look at the ball and pick his spot. He's got no excuse to be honest. At least
he had a great game overall, but that
to be honest,
he got hit the target. What was he doing? I mean, it's a free header, and he's seen the
Ben Rama done brilliantly for that as well, and it pisses me off because some of our fans still give him shit. But the way that he won, what's that?
Your fans are so weird. They keep hating on Ben Rama when he's actually your best attacker.
Oh,
Every time I watch you, he's literally your most. He's literally your most influential player. I don't understand what they're watching.
I tweeted that during the game at halftime, like Ben Rama's been our spark, and so many people like replied, "Oh, he's shit, he's been shit."
It doesn't actually make sense, but there's quite a lot to cover with this game. Obviously, there's a lot of narratives going on.
Mad game.
But GK, I'm going to start with this one first before we get into this one. Listen, obviously it's banter, but your post on Man United after our flipping fumble against Sevilla, you were loving it, and rightfully so, because we completely capitulated as well. So I'm not saying that. I understand it. But the fact that you do it the very next game, and on top of that, Saka misses a penalty. I'm sorry, but if you do not win the league, this is an astronomical bottle job. This is similar to us against Sevilla, where you're so comfortable that it's actually like, even if you win that 2-1, you're probably pissed off because you've lost a goal in goal difference. It's that kind of game. Like, you were so comfortable. And as Lola said, there was a lot of arrogance with your team. I mean, the first goal came from complete arrogance from Partey. What on earth is he doing trying that against Declan Rice of all players as well? I mean, just a complete audacity, and just it's just so casual. I mean, it's just bizarre for me. I mean, City in that scenario obviously are ruthless to go. They'll probably end up winning 5-0 in those games. But look, I don't want to discredit Arsenal too much because it's not really been a theme of how they've been all season. So I suppose my question to you is, have you bottled the title? Do you think that could be the turning point? Obviously, there's a lot of games left to play. Don't get me wrong. Mathematically, still in it. But
Well,
psychologically, do you think this is a game that you think, yeah, this is where we lost the title?
well, just to clear up why I did that video about Man United, I had a lot of Man United fans saying you were 2-0 up at Anfield and you effed it up.
I
And
mean,
obviously,
that's so funny, man.
given the result you had at Anfield, the game's a game. I'm obviously gonna be like, well, hang on a minute, like, it's interesting, you know, that happened at Anfield, and then when you've all come at me for bottling a 2-goal lead at Anfield, now you've gone and done the same thing, and then we've gone and done the same thing. So it's just a shit.
It's that Spider-Man meme, innit? Like the three
Yeah,
Spider-
we're all just pointing fingers at
three
each other.
times in
You
the
know what I
space
mean?
of 7 days between us.
I'll tell you what, I do feel like in that 2-0 position, like we were comfortable. Yeah, and I think had we not been 2-0 up at Anfield and messed it up, like as Lawless said, he's right. It was like we then went into this weird mode where instead of going for the jugular, going for the third, going for the fourth, like I expected us to, I was like, hang on a minute, why are we trying? Because I noticed Ramsdale was doing some of those things, and like we started to like try and break up play. We tried to waste time, and we were passing the ball, but we were like controlling the ball, but just, you know, when you're trying to keep it when there's 10 or 15 minutes left, and it's like, you know what, if we keep the ball, they can't do anything. It's like, how can you start doing that and it's only 30 minutes played? Like it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, and when we started to do these time wasting little things, it did exactly the same thing that Xhaka reacting to Trent did at Anfield, i.e., as Lawless said. Like, I pretty much agree with everything that Lawless said. Like, it riled up their crowd and it gave them something to fight for. That energy fed into their players, and the rest was history. And I'll tell you what it is. I don't think we've bottled the league just yet. I still think it's too early. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But one thing I'm going to say is you can tell there is a naivety in our mentality. You know, I do think that like our mentality has improved significantly. Like when we lost to Man United, we went on the 8-game winning streak. We still haven't lost since we lost to City. People need to remember that. Do you know what I mean? 7 wins, 2 draws. Those the draw against West Ham feels like more of a defeat, with the greatest respect to Lawless and West Ham, than the Liverpool one does, because you
I
can
feel like
kind
the
of
Liverpool one was more for winning. I'm not gonna lie, because you got battered.
you can wear the one at Liverpool because we've just been so shit there for fucking ages. Whereas like West Ham, we have a favourable record against them, you know, home and away. You know, like so, like given where West Ham are in the league at the moment, how they've been playing, how we've been playing, that was more of, I feel like we bottled it. You know, like that we bottled that game when we shouldn't have. But I don't think we bottled the league. I think it could either be a massive wake up call, and because we did get complacent, and I do think that we also got naive, and I think we tried to preserve a league based on what had happened the week before at Anfield, when what we didn't realize is we were causing the same psychological effect to a away crowd. Let's be honest, West Ham are a London team. Like London teams, form goes out the window. If the West Ham aren't going to want to see us win the league, it's another London team. Like, I'm not saying they've got the same rivalry with us that Spurs or Chelsea do, but obviously, if they've got an opportunity to throw a spanner in the works, they're going to take it, like any other club in London would. And we gave them something to fight for, and we didn't need to do that in the same way Xhaka didn't when he reacted. And that's the frustrating part about it. But I don't think we bought the league, because I think if we win all our games, we win the league. Now we still got to play City. It's going to be a tall order. But
GK, come in there, bro. I don't think you bought the league. I do agree. I don't think you have just yet. However, on paper, I'm going to take the Anfield game out, because I didn't think you'd beat Liverpool at Anfield, regardless of, I mean, off the back of our 7, I think we'd, if anyone's going to know how hard it is to go to Anfield as us. But I didn't actually think you'd beat them. And if you did beat them, I actually would have said, yeah, you won the league. That's how confident I were you weren't going to beat them, just because they have this weird sort of thing in big games. But with West Ham, with the situation they were, and obviously I've spoken to Lawless numerous occasions, they were dead. As in, they were dead on the floor at 2-0 after 10 minutes.
you got to
I
go
thought
for
this
the
game's going to be
and the
3-0 at halftime minimum, 4-0, whatever the score may be. And I think for me, it comes down to psychology. And I think that's where you lost the game. It was complete psychology. There was nothing else to it. I mean, if that Liverpool game literally didn't happen the game before, hypothetically, let's say you win 2-1, you literally win this game 4-0 against West Ham.
Yeah.
And that's where I think if you have, that's why I'm saying, like, in terms of if you don't win the league, this was the reason you didn't win it was because of this, obviously points wise, but in general, mentally, you lost it here at West Ham. Because for me, the fact that you allowed the psychology to creep in off the back of bottling the 2-0 lead against Liverpool, you've just basically repeated yourself. And that's where, if I was an Arsenal fan, that's what I'd be worried about most. Not so much the performance, yada, yada, yada. It's the fact that you allow those doubts to come into your head, and that's what title-winning teams don't do.
That's what City won't do.
A lot of players in that team are young, so I'm not going to get onto a lot of the
that didn't look like the Arsenal team that I've seen this season. That didn't look like the confident, we're going and we believe in ourselves.
We played away from home all season, and we got the best away record in the league. Like that, the last 70 minutes, West Ham should have won that game. Bojan was unbelievable. I think Declan Rice put in a shift in midfield. Him and Souček did really well in midfield. They bullied Partey. Partey, like, I don't even. That is like, he
got subbed off.
Yeah, he got subbed off. He was not good in that game. And I think, look, Arsenal have got to. Our next game is away at City, so it's another away game, and we've got to learn how to not give away fans, not to put them in a situation where they start galvanizing the players on the pitch. That's the clear problem. Do you know what I mean? The last 2 games, we've given away crowds, we've given them fuel to galvanize the players on the pitch, and that's cost us. And that is mental and tactical naivety on our part that we need to learn from. Because if we do that at City, they're going to slap us. They're going to absolutely slap us.
I'm not going to lie, GK. Like, with City, I actually think Newcastle's the one you need to be worried about, because their fans are rowdy. Like, they are, and plus they're playing for Champions League as well, so they've got a lot to play for. They're going to be on it.
And also,
Man City, I'm not even trying to take a dig at them, but the literally fans are so like shit. Like, with all respect to them, like, they don't do anything in terms of noise. Like, I'm not even trying to take shots.
If you remember with Newcastle last season as well, losing that game meant we didn't get top 4. So we got that added psychological pressure of going to St James's Park. Do you know what I mean? This happened last year. A lot of those players are the same players. So you're right. You're actually right.
So, I mean, look, we just got outplayed by them at St. James's Park. Their fans absolutely killed us. Like, they were onto us from minute one. Like, the players were pressing. Obviously, like you said, galvanized the players. Kish, let's just get your thoughts quickly on the Arsenal before we just round up with Haaland being a robot. Yeah, so what are your thoughts on Arsenal? Do you think the bottom of the league here, or, you know, where do you sit in the whole situation?
I don't personally think they've bottled it as of yet, similar to what the whole panel said so far. I genuinely do think it's based on that City game. I know you guys have mentioned the Newcastle, but I think in terms of momentum and in terms of what it would do to both sides is humongous, because if Arsenal don't even win that game, but if they get a point out of it, I think that then gives them the belief to say, right, we've done that now. So this is our remaining fixtures, and that's all we have to worry about. Whereas I think if City lost that game and they're still in the Champions League and everything else, I'm not saying they'd take their foot off the pedal, but I just think it would give Arsenal so much more impetus from that, you know, thereafter than it would for City. However, I do think if City win it, then I see them winning every single game for the rest of the season, and I see them winning the treble as well.
Oh, that was going to be my question.
Yeah, I do see it, because the thing is I know we're going to talk about the robot soon, but this is the reason why he was bought. This is the key reason why he was bought, not for the Premier League, because they've done that, not for the FA Cup, because they've been there, done that. It was for the Champions League. But with that, their squad is such a FIFA squad that even players like Alvarez would start for any other Premier League team, in my opinion. That he would start in that position
I'd take him in
any other Premier League team. So they are in a position now that they're on such a cycle that if they do beat Arsenal, I just don't see how they can be stopped, to be honest. So I think that game really is massive, not just for the momentum, but in terms of what it will do for both sides as a whole for the rest of the season.
Yeah, we're going to come back.
The interesting thing, though, is we got Southampton at home before, so there's still going to be a points cushion, even though we'd have played an extra game. We have to beat Southampton. No excuses. None. And that's
if you don't, we might as well say it's done. Like,
yeah, but it's not even beating Southampton though, GK. I think it's the win that you get against Southampton that's important, because if you just scrape, say, a 1-0 win, yes, it's a win. But I think
they're going to slap them.
But yeah, that's what I mean. I feel like it needs to be a convincing win.
There needs to be a response.
Yeah. Like, you know what? Yeah, you need the likes of, you know, Partey to have a really good game. I know it's a weaker opposition. You need these Odegaard. You need these key players, and Saka. You know, for example, if he had a penalty, you know, you need these players to get back on board. So when it does come to the next game, it's like, right, okay, we're still there, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think Saka, to be fair to him, has kind of fallen off a bit in recent weeks.
Yeah,
obviously the contract, and it always is with players. Once there's that situation with the contract where there's rumors of him wanting 300k a week, blah 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 blah. These matters should be resolved. They should be resolved in January, in my opinion, because imagine the boost it would have given.
Yeah,
I don't really think it's the contract thing. I think it's more a case of, like, on the left-hand side, you've got, like, Martinelli and Trossard now. Like, if you look at Saka, he's barely been rotated at all. I think it's more him being run into the ground and not being managed sporadically. I think it's
saw
more
a lot of Arsenal fans saying this, and although there's probably truth in that, you are only playing one game a week though. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Although, like, there is
last season we had Declan Rice playing like every game.
Bruno like almost probably double like most players.
For what?
And I'm not trying to say like there isn't truth to it, because obviously he's a young lad, his bones are like not matured, etc. So there's and he's not used to it. However,
I'm not just looking at it.
I think he's probably more mentally tired than physically tired.
And I'm not just looking at it from the perspective of just this season. It's like, since he's broken into that team, he's not been removed from that starting lineup. And then you look at all the England games as well, the World Cup. Like, I'm looking at it more from a, like, you see, like, Liverpool last season played 63 games. Their team is knackered as a result of it this season.
But GK, this is the difference between a good player and an elite player. The elite players, when it comes to this point of the season where it's championship round, this is where you see.
Yeah, this is where you rate your
So
players.
regardless of what you say about, I understand, I get what you're saying. He hasn't had a complete break since that time, but this is where the elite mentality monster comes into play. Because the very, very best players,
he's still a
play
kid,
60
man.
games a season
Yeah.
without moaning. They do, and they're still there at the cut end.
Yeah, but he should.
I'm
And
not
that's what I'm saying, he
one
should
of these
never be
Arsenal
in this
fans who
position.
sits there and says he's world class. You know what I mean? Like,
No, we're not saying that.
No, I'm
he's
not
just a
saying. I'm
lower
not saying
level.
anything about
he's
he's
not
not
been
been there before or he's not
elite
world
player
class. I'm
thing.
not saying anything like that. But what I'm saying,
he's still a
in terms
developing
of
player.
being
Do you know what I mean? He is going to have these peaks and troughs. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
we still
I
got to
don't think
remember
it's
he's
down
only
to lack
21,
of
man. Like, do you know what I mean? He's not.
No, I understand that. Martinelli had a dip a few months ago where he wasn't contributing. Now he's back in and he seems rejuvenated.
But that comes down to the manager. That's management. Because I look at it, I went back to that Aston Villa game. He took a really rough tackle, and he was hobbling, he was limping, and for a bit, and I'm thinking, yeah, he's going to have to come off. He's surely going to take him off. And you can see they're really to go and can you continue? And it took him a while to run that off. And I'm thinking, like, just take him off, save him. And what they've done is continue to play him and play him and play him. Like, so physically, you talk about being a young player, Bones, and that. You've got to be able to look at that player and go, he's a key player for us, but he's young. Like, it shouldn't all be on his shoulders.
No,
like,
it shouldn't.
As much as it is.
And also to add to that, yeah, this is yes, you might not have the squad depth that Man City do, but you still have the likes of Reece Nelson.
I was about to say,
you have Smith, you had Vieira, who's a 40 million or 30 million pound signing. Smith last season was on double figures for goals.
Yeah, so, second top goal scorer.
I know it might not be their favoured position. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. I get it. But in terms of rotation, because there's been plenty of games this season where it's been game over basically with 25, 30 minutes.
He's not taking him off.
Has been kept on. So that is on Arteta, right? That is on
I don't argue
said to me before, everyone thought he was crazy. He was like, no, I would drop Saka because he's been fading out. He's also getting tired, resting, put Trossard there. And then people thought he was crazy. And I messaged him, I said, you were right. And he was like, there you go.
It's like Pep. It's like Pep on the weekend with Haaland. Haaland, I'm sure, wanted a hat-trick. Sure, he wanted a hat-trick. But after 15 minutes, took him off.
Yeah.
The game was over.
The objective comes first.
I think Arteta is a great manager in terms of like system, style, setup, and all these things. But I think the weaker aspect of his management is his in-game management, is his substitutions, which Lawless pointed out as well. I've seen a couple of games where he's just not made subs at the right time. Man United away, he made the subs at the wrong time. It was 1-1. We were just into the ascendancy. He changes both of his eights. And if you look at how Bruno played the ball through the midfield on the counter, cut us open. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like Arteta, he's improving in this area, but it's the weakest element to his management. And I think he really needs to work on that. His timing of his substitution.
The thing is, though, GK, one of the things that have come up on loads of group chats and on social media, talks about everything. One question, right? If, for whatever reason, you do not win the league at the end of this season, bearing in mind that you've been the top of the league for 95, 99% of this entire season, would you say you've bottled it?
No. And
I think you have. I'm going to be honest.
The thing is, it's very easy to say, man, but this monster has got 47 goals in all comps. Do you know what I mean? Like this City team is ridiculous. Like they're on a 10-game winning streak in all competitions. Like it's very easy to look at it from one side.
You just said you've lost one game since the Man City game.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're comparing the quality of our squad and our manager to theirs, it's a non-contest.
But then you could do that for every other team in the league. You could do that for every other team in the league.
The reason why I wouldn't say we bottled it, like Arsenal have a good 11 players, but what's evident when Saliba's not fit, Rob Holding comes in. Do you know what I mean? Like when Diaz wasn't fit at the beginning of the season and Laporte wasn't, they've got Akanji, they've got Ake. Do you know what I mean? There's a clear difference. So for me, it's like
that's not right, man.
Of course, rivals are going to look at it and be like, "You bottled it. It's funny. We're going to laugh at you, whatever." But Arsenal, you got like we all had this discussion at the beginning of the season, man. I was the one coming on here being told you'll be lucky to get in the top 4, the top 6, or whatever. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no,
You remember these combos? Like, of course,
listen, we're
expectations
not gonna do
change
that.
throughout
Oh,
the season,
we
but
our aim was on
the
top
thing is, you
4.
can't just look at the expectations changing
No,
through the middle of the season.
we're
You've
lucky.
also got to look at what the expectations were at the beginning of it, what we've done to
Nah, you
change it.
can't do that.
Of course you can.
That's like me as a mind. Let me just give you from my United perspective, right? You obviously I know what you're saying about, but that's like me now saying, oh, that we should like my expectations. If you look at my predictions, I didn't have us in the top 4. I don't think. I think I had us 5th or something, 5th or 4th potentially. But that's like me now turning around saying, oh well, if you finish below Spurs, that's still okay. That's right. No, Spurs are shit.
Yeah,
Like
but the
we
thing
should be
is,
finishing below Spurs. We should.
you're
No,
comparing
but no.
Spurs. You're
Let me
comparing
finish.
Spurs
Let me
chasing you
finish.
to Man City chasing
No,
you, and there's no
no. Let me
comparison. Like,
finish.
with the greatest respect for
The
Spurs,
point
like
being, you're not letting me finish.
what is this like?
But you're not letting me finish though. So how are you going to understand the point? The point being is our expectations finish throughout the season depending on the situation. The fact of the matter is, if we're looking at it from the start of the season, then of course it's a successful season. But the truth of the matter is, and the facts on the table are, Arsenal were 14 points clear of Manchester City. Granted, Man City had 2
When
games in hand, therefore
we
you
were
can.
never 14 points clear of them.
But obviously, we know points on the board are always more important than games in hand. That's just fact. So let's just call it 8 points, yeah, whatever, to save face. 8 points clear with what essentially 8 to 9 games. For me personally, in the manner in which you drop these points against Liverpool and West Ham, the truth of the matter is, if you go on to win all your rest of the games apart from the Man City one, so Man City overtake you on like whatever, like just 1 point or whatever goal difference, whatever it may be, you're going to look at this West Ham game and say, yeah, we bottled the league. Because at the end of the day, you're 2-0 up against a team that's dead and buried. And the same situation against Liverpool, where they were on the beach. They have nothing to play for, essentially. They can't really get top 4 unless there's an absolute capitulation from Newcastle and United. They're not going to get top 4. They don't want Europa League. They don't want Conference. And you basically dropped 4 points against 2 teams. Well, you shouldn't have. And
it was in your hands.
The thing is, I think what you guys are doing is you're
that's not bottling it because you've bottled it there. Essentially, if you don't win the league now, I can look back at it and say, no, what? Although Arsenal shouldn't have been in this situation, and although Arteta and your team deserve credit, I'm never going to take that away from you lot because everyone would want to be in your shoes. You can't look at this West Ham game. Just say if you don't win the league, by 1 point, let's just say they're above you by 1 point. You're going to be looking at a West Ham game thinking, what the fuck? We bottled the league.
Can I respond now?
Yes.
I respond now, yeah? So this City team, before it had Haaland, chased down a Liverpool team that was 14 points ahead of them, yeah? And that Liverpool team was managed by Klopp, yeah? Like that Liverpool team, if you look at Salah now, in a shit season, you look at what Salah's still doing. It had Mane, it had Firmino, had all these great players. If you compare this Arsenal squad to that Liverpool squad, if you compare Arteta now to that Jurgen Klopp,
but they
can't tell me there's a comparison.
They still bottled it.
They didn't.
Yeah, they bottled it.
No, they didn't because City went on. City went on an absolute City won like 14 games.
Just think about it. A 14-point deficit is only reduced if the other team drops points, and not just against
5 games.
No, because the 14-point gap was by virtue of Liverpool having played like I think 2 extra games in January.
Right, okay, so like that's 6 points out of 14, which is 8 left. So that's 8 points dropped against lesser opposition.
It wasn't all lesser opposition. The teams that they
were all lesser to Liverpool at that time.
Yeah, they're all lesser opposition.
Yeah, but not significantly. Like the fundamental thing that I'm trying to say is like looking at it in isolation of Arsenal were in that position to lose it is one thing, but this City team, if they went on and won all their games, would it surprise any of you? This guy just said they might do the
if you won all your games this season, it wouldn't surprise me. It surprised me if you did win at Etihad. It would surprise me.
But what did surprise me is you're 2-0 up.
You don't have to win.
At home against a 15th place West Ham against a 15th place West Ham. in your words, best away record in the Premier League this season, and you've dropped 3 vital points. So
Okay,
that is
so
2 vital points.
but equally, if you look at the teams that City have dropped points to, okay, United away, fair enough, understandable, given how United have been playing this season. Brentford, and Everton.
What's the point that you're making?
Newcastle, they drew to as well. Like, what the point I'm saying is, it works both ways. Like, the teams that they've dropped points to, they shouldn't have. You know what I mean? Like, they shouldn't have dropped points to Newcastle.
You've
They
been
were
top of the league
they were
for
also 3-1 up against Newcastle when they messed that up, I believe. If I'm not, no, it was the other way around. Sorry. But yeah.
Yeah, but all you're doing is proving that they're not this machine, unstoppable team.
Yeah.
That they've been weak this season, and
Yeah.
we got to look at it right because everyone said how Spurs bottled the league twice. Them 2 seasons.
Yeah, you definitely said
that season when we came third in a 2-horse race.
Yeah, exactly.
That wasn't a successful. For me personally, that wasn't a successful season because by getting so close to lifting the Premier League, not just an FA Cup or League Cup, but the Premier League, that's a failure. The season we got to the Champions League final and came 4th in the league, that's still a failure for me because we didn't win the trophy.
And look at the expectations at the start of the season. No one expected that.
I think also though, you like 8th, then 5th.
No, GK, don't give me this.
I think what you've got to understand here is like,
GK, come
on. No,
you can't
I'm sorry.
do that.
Let me finish.
Let me finish
on this point.
GK, let's be honest. One question. I bet you when Brendan Rodgers was at Liverpool and they bottled that league, when it was Suarez and Sturridge and everyone else was average, maybe Gerrard, you were not coming out with that same energy. I guarantee you weren't. I guarantee it.
You definitely said Spurs bottled it in that 2-horse race. They came third.
You can't ever call Spurs bottle jobs if you can't accept that.
Spurs finished third. Yeah, like if there was no significant, like they were not near Leicester. Like I don't envisage us finishing more than a point or 2 either way, either ahead or behind Man City.
We were within 3 points of Leicester the entire season until the last game.
If we finish 5, 6, 7 points behind them, then we'll have that conversation. For me, if we finish within touching distance, either side of them, they haven't bottled it.
So did Liverpool bottle it when Rodgers was there and they lost in the last game of the season? When they drew against Crystal Palace? When they were winning 3-1, did they bottle it that season? Given it was the last game.
3-3, that's a bottle.
But the thing is, given it was the last game, and given like what it was one of the last games, or it was the last game?
It was second to last.
It was in the running.
Second to last game. Like, I think this is the thing. Like, we've still got 7 more games to play. Yeah, like the difference with that is if it's the second to last game and you should be beating Palace, there's a difference in context there. Do you know what I mean? You're even closer.
Did you bottle top 4 last season, in your opinion?
Pardon?
Did you bottle top 4 last season?
Absolutely. We bottled top 4 last season. We bottled top 4 last season because, like I said, like, you know, Newcastle was like we did it in like the last 3 games, something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I think to look at West Ham now,
when it goes down to the wire, and if you do a West Ham scenario, then it's bottled up.
Yeah, like I mean, we might look back and it might be the point that is the difference. But
that's what I mean, innit? I feel like
if it goes to the last day and it's like we could have won it and we didn't, or whatever, and it's only a point. I don't know, man. I just call me biased. I don't care. Like, I'm sorry. Like, from where we've been, from where we've come from what I expected, from what I've seen from this team, I just refuse to do it.
I just think this is your best chance to win this time. I don't think you'll get a better chance.
I'll tell you what. You lot were all saying the same about last season being our best chance to get top 4 last season. By the way, that point secured Champions League football.
But true, but top 4 is different because there's 4 places to achieve top 4. There's 4 places available to get that, right? With the league, there's 1 position you can finish in, and there's a lot of teams fighting for that position. And next season, it's going to, and you're going to be in the Champions League, so you're going to have to juggle Champions League plus a title challenge. So
and you just said Man City have the monster up front. So I don't
But
know how
the
long,
thing-
how long,
The thing is,
how many years you can compete with that team then.
if I was to counter with that, right, this team, our best players are all under 25.
Yeah,
So Zinchenko, 25, I believe. Ben White, Gabriel,
it's just a hypothetical.
25. Saliba's 21. Ramsdale's like 24. Odegaard's
There is an
24.
assumption though that they're all
Saka's-
gonna just stay as good or get better, and none of them are gonna
I don't.
slip. We have seen it before. The Theo
Of course we
Walcotts, the Jack Wilsheres.
We've seen it.
The only issue
But
there as well, GK,
think-
this is my worry. As a Spurs fan, this is my worry. I mean, it's not even a worry, it's already happened. Is Newcastle haven't even touched the shelf.
Yeah, that's true.
What
Actually,
they
they're gonna be a
achieved.
problem.
No, they haven't.
And regardless of what we said earlier about Chelsea, you just
If
know
Newcastle get Champions
No,
League,
I'm not going to sit here and say Chelsea are going to be the
higher
shit
manager
forever.
quality.
They're not going to be the shit forever.
Like,
I
let's
know
be
that.
Man United get that
If
investment
Chelsea
as well.
get Nagelsmann, it's likely that they will still be a dominant force again. Like, I'm
Listen.
not saying it's a guarantee, but if
All right.
Chelsea sign an Enrique or a Nagelsmann, you can bet your bottom
Well,
dollar that it's likely that they will be back.
I've always said I'm counting on it because I've always, like, in my childhood, Arsenal was significantly better than Chelsea. In my adulthood, Chelsea was significantly better than Arsenal. I've always wanted a period when both teams have fuck all excuses. Yeah, they both got a good manager. They both got a good team. Yeah, they both got a good backroom staff. They both basically got no excuses. Yeah, they can walk to the center of the ring and they can fucking trade blows, and we can end this fucking conversation once and for all. I've always wanted that. I've always said that. I've made no secret of it. I don't expect Chelsea to be this shit forever. They bought good players. They've just tried to do too much way too quickly. And I've said that to all their fans. Like, the issue isn't their ideas and what they've done. They've just tried to see our process and induce it on steroids, and for that it'll be fine, it'll work.
My guy, it just takes the right manager. Look at Man United last season to this season. It's virtually the same squad, bar maybe 2-3 signings. It's the manager. The manager is the key difference to
Of
all.
course.
It's this team that went sixth and is now third or fourth, has won a trophy. I've got a chance to win another two. That is the difference. It is literally the management.
True.
That's all
But
it takes. That's literally
They got to get the manager appointment right. And on top of that, as I'm saying, like, we have the manager. Like, there's no question that Arteta is a good manager. Like, we have the system, we have the backroom staff. All the recruitment that we've done in the last 3 years has been fruitful. If you look at situations where Leicester tried to charge us 80 million for Maddison, we said, fuck that, we'll go get Odegaard for 30 million. We got him. Now, most people would probably take Odegaard over Maddison if they had a choice right now. Yeah. The same with Mudryk, yeah, and Felix. We were like, all right, we'll take Trossard. Yeah. Most people at the moment, I think Mudryk's got the potential to go on to be a better player. But if you're asking right now, you're taking Trossard without a question. Do you know what I mean? Man United, we wanted Martinez. Man United came in. We went, all right, we'll get Zinchenko. Yeah. I think our recruitment has proven that it knows what the fuck it's doing. And
That your first choices are worse than your second choices. So if you got your first choices, you would have been a lot worse.
Yeah, so you got lucky.
The fundamental thing that I'm trying to say is all of this recruitment has been done without the benefit of having Champions League football to attract a higher caliber of players to this football club. And now we're not going to have that blocker anymore. So I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to win the league, we're going to do this. I do believe that in these coming years, we are going to do some very good things, because I think now that we have that Champions League pull back, and now that we have, the manager has a pull as well. You know what I mean? When the manager's shown what he can do, players like Declan Rice are like, you know, Arteta looks like a manager I want to work with because of his track record. You know what I mean? A lot of people are saying this is a Leicester-esque season. I don't think they're using their head. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, we're going to walk the league, we're going to walk this, that, and the other next season. We're not going to fall away.
That is my question, actually, for Lawless. Lawless, you know, because it was only last season when there was rumours about Rice going to Arsenal. You were like, why would he go there? Because they're a waste of space. And Agbon Lahore was saying it as well, like, why would Rice go there? He should probably better off going to Aston Villa because it's a better move. Now, how do you feel How do you feel about your gem, your club product, your legend, your captain, your leader, all these big words potentially going to your London neighbours?
I mean, he could potentially go a lot of places. Do you know what I mean? He could potentially.
But it looks like the most likely destination is a certain London club.
Well, Arsenal, and I've had this on good authority. As it stands, Arsenal are the only real club that have really showed like significant interest. None of the other clubs have joined the battle yet for his signature. So at the end of the day, it's going to come down to who has that money. You know, who's willing to pay the asking fee. I don't know if Daddy Kroenke is going to be, you know, still bankrolling them big moves. I think it is funny how much stick they've given that man over the years, and I think now we're seeing.
I know exactly. There's so much shit, and there's loads of good.
Yeah, we found out it was Arsene Wenger was the problem all along.
No, sorry, no, wait.
I'll tell you why.
He significantly changed his behaviour when he's taken full ownership of the club, because Usmanov was owning like there was. No, so Lawless. Look, to be clear, yeah, let me just clear this up. Yeah, like in 2018, Kroenke took full ownership of the club. Yeah, before that, we had Usmanov and Kroenke. Yeah, and they both had very different ideas about how they wanted to invest in the club.
So
Kroenke always wanted to be more sustainable. Yeah, whereas basically,
you go to Everton now. They do absolutely
yeah. So I think your fans need to apologize to Stan Kroenke because he wasn't the problem; he was the solution.
No, but Kroenke.
We want Kroenke out.
No, but the point I'm saying, Lawless, the last bit I was trying to get.
None of this without him.
No. The point because he wasn't investing in the same way because there was another owner.
So it wasn't his fault. It was the other owner's fault. It was Usmanov's fault. I didn't hear we want Usmanov out. We want Usmanov
out. Looking like Thomas Partey in that DP, my guy. What's going on?
I think apologies needed. Apology. I think I'm gonna start to get all these Arsenal fans apologizing to Stanley Kroenke because
to be honest, there was a significant difference in his ownership style. And even the transparency of talking to fans and what his plans were for the club to when he took full ownership. So it's not
why wasn't you giving the energy to Usmanov then? Why wouldn't you know Usmanov this, Usmanov that?
It was he
was like mentioned as a little side. Oh yeah,
he didn't have a majority stakeholder. Kroenke did.
But it's
okay.
My question. Lawless.
I don't know. Man.
If you see Declan Rice in an Arsenal shirt, thoughts?
Or a Chelsea shirt. Arsenal or Chelsea shirt. Which one?
Nah, I'm saying Arsenal. Nah. Arsenal. Let's go straight to Arsenal.
No. Wait.
Nah. Arsenal.
Lawless,
over the years, if I have known anyone that slaughtered Arsenal, not slated, slaughtered Arsenal over the last few years, including Arteta, it is Lawless. I want to see what are your thoughts, Lawless, if you see the Arsenal shirt on your boy Declan Money Rice, Declan. It's time for Rice, baby, with an Arsenal shirt.
He's dead to me. He does that. He does that. No, because look, Arsenal, and everything that he said, like, it's going from playing under David Moyes to Arteta. Fucking hell, man! Like playing under that miserable, dour, fucking old bastard. Like,
but one thing I did want to ask you, actually, Lawless,
sucks the life out of you.
Do you not think he's been a tad disrespectful in some of his recent interviews? You know, in terms of like angling the move, not like what Harry Kane did, because his was mad direct, right, with Gary Neville. But in terms of what Declan Rice recently has been saying in a few interviews, like maybe it's time for me to move to a bigger club. You know, I maybe want to. When he came out with that comment in the Europa League about what was it? A player said to him, one of the Champions League players said to him, "Oh, he deserves to be." No, it was in the England international when it was. Who's the guy who plays for the Italian international who plays for PSG, the centre midfielder? Verratti was like a player of Rice's ability should be playing in the Champions League. And he basically said in an interview, yeah, I agree with what he's saying.
Did he? I didn't see that.
He said that in an interview during his England international. So do you think he's been disrespectful?
I don't know. It's a tough one because I mean, like his comments haven't really caught him flack when we look at it in context. And everyone feels like, yeah, like we shouldn't. And we was trying to get there, whether it was through the Europa League or trying to get top 4, which we was very close to getting the past couple of seasons. So we had that ability to do it with us. And if it weren't going to happen with us, it was going to go somewhere else. It's, to me, the problem was hearing about this story of if he's making these secret agreements with Arsenal, like, yeah, I'm coming in the summer, which I've got on good authority is bullshit. There is no agreement as it stands, and he's a professional guy. You know what I mean? He's a very professional player, and fans, like, you see how much it means to him when that Arsenal game was winning. You could see how passionate he was and how much it meant to him. He's professional. He's not sitting there and got one eye out on the door. He cares about his career. Of course, he wants to achieve things. He wants to play Champions League football. He wants to win trophies. What player doesn't? And he knows that he's capable of it. Yeah, well, yeah. Harry Kane has a distant dream, but I think he's not going to do a Harry Kane. If he will see his contract. He won't try and make that move and go and play golf with Gary Neville and all that shit. He will ride it out, and if we can't sell him,
right? Lawless, I'm going to ask you the question then, and we're going to wrap it there because it's well past what it's late for everyone. So, Declan Rice, Arsenal, Tottenham, or Chelsea? Whose shirt do you want to see him in?
Chelsea. If he went Tottenham, man, oh my god, I'd throw up every day, every time just seeing him in that.
I can see a Rice and Ndombele partnership. Bro. Pochettino 2.0 era. I can see it. I can see it cooking.
God. Do you know what? I would love to see. Imagine to see Harry Kane go Arsenal though. That would be something.
Sol Campbell part 2. Where I actually see him going? Honestly, I've been speaking to quite a few people about it recently. I don't know why. I just see him going Newcastle. I just see it, especially if Newcastle get the Champions League this season.
No, okay.
Because think about it, right? The only club that can afford realistically to pay for everything and go for a marquee signing, someone who's British, Eddie Howe goes for these sort of players.
Man United.
The thing is, I'm sorry, bro, like, this whole thing that Arsenal speak a lot like
Newcastle. Oh, but they've got Isaac. He looks like.
I can see it because if you think about it, there's strong rumours that Wilson's gone at the end of the season because he's getting to it now. So their only recognised striker is Isak, and Isak can play as a number 10. He can play on the wing and he can play on strike as well. So I can see their focus again if they get Champions League football. If they get Champions League football, who's the team at the moment in terms of United and Newcastle that's likely to dominate in upcoming seasons? If Man United's ownership still stays the same, because I'm sure you've read it today.
Yeah, I don't want to talk
in terms of what's going on. I'm sure you've read it, and in terms of what's a good opportunity for him, would it be weird that he breaks Alan Shearer's goal scoring record in the Premier League for Newcastle at Newcastle? Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's a great story, but it's not happening. Yeah, we're not going to get to Man United ownership. We'll do that tomorrow's show because I've got a lot to discuss on that. But listen, it's been a fantastic show. We're going to wrap it there. Obviously, Haaland is a robot, and
Blazers in.
We'll
in, lads.
Daniel Levy in.
Listen. Make sure you slap a like, subscribe to the channel. Everyone's social media.
Kish's face just dropped.